Hey everyone, and welcome to today's WordStream webinar, 5 psychological ad copy hacks to 3 times your click-through rates. We're very excited to have you today, and we have a great presentation for you. Before we get started, I want to get a couple things out of the way so we can get straight to the fun and all the learning. Following our presentation, you'll receive an email from today's presenter, Margot, with both the recording and the slides for you to review or share with your colleagues, whatever you wish. We'll also have dedicated time for Q&A following the presentation, so we definitely encourage you to submit your questions throughout the webinar, and we'll get to as many as possible. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we are a search marketing software provider with free and paid tools to help you easily grow your AdWords and Bing campaigns. So if you're looking to master paid search, we definitely encourage you to check out our PPC University on our website, wordstream.com/learn. There's tons of information there that will definitely help you get started and really great insights and takeaways for you. Now, throughout the presentation, we'd love if you connect with us on Twitter. So you can follow at WordStream. Our Twitter handles right there, along with our presenter today, Chappie Margot. Now, to introduce our presenter today, I'm very excited that we have Margot with us. She was recently named to PPC Heroes list of most influential PPC experts, which is a huge accomplishment. So congrats again to you, Margot, and we're really excited to have you. She is our content marketing specialist here at WordStream. She has a great background in PPC, social media, and blogging. Definitely check out our blog. She writes at least one blog a week, if not more, so you can keep up with all of her insights there. And then a little fun fact about Margot is she used to be a windsurfer instructor, which is quite interesting. But she loves the beach, so she was able to explore that love. All right, Margot, I'm going to hand it over to you and get straight to the presentation, so take it away.
All right, awesome. Thank you for the very kind intro. I appreciate it. Making me blush over here. But I'm really excited to be here today to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is kind of mixing in psychology with marketing. I think that, as marketers, this is so important to really spend time thinking more about psychology, because this is essentially what marketing is all about at the end of the day, is influencing people to do certain things. And that's all about, getting into the human brain can really give you that, those strategies to really entice those people to convert, to make more sales, or to visit your website, or whatever your main goal is. So let's get into that today. And of course, we're focused on ad copy, on paid search, also one of my favorite topics. So the first thing I want to do is really just dive right into what do these 3 PPC ads have in common. You can see the ads here. They're all, advertising, of course, for marketing software, CRM type stuff. We all know this. But what else do they have in common? Well, they all suck. The reality is tough, right? So I hope none of you here are, from working with companies. I'm sorry, but they're not engaging. And I know you might be thinking, practices, right? They have scaling extensions enabled. They have, some of them have really strong call to actions, like see a demo with that exclamation point. That's pretty engaging. They have social validation. Product ratings, a keyword in the description URL. So they're kind of following all of those best practices. But the thing is, they still suck. There's nothing really engaging or that's differentiating one ad from being better than the next. And I kind of want to, along that theme, talk about another best practice that we're often told is something that we should all be doing, which is dynamic keyword insertion. So this is practice basically where you have parameters in your ad copy, and then when someone searches for your ad, that search will show up in your ad copy to make it as relevant as possible, because we love relevancy. It's very important in paid search. But we actually looked into this at WordStream, and we found, we analyzed thousands and thousands of accounts, and we found that dynamic keyword insertion definitely works, but it's really not going to make your ads remarkable. So if you top to 1% click-through rates, you see that the ones who are actually not using dynamic keyword insertion are getting higher kind of remarkable click-through rates, which is really what we're all aiming for at the end of the day. So that's just something to know that, DKI, setting that that ad copy description on kind of autopilot might not always be the best strategy to get into that top, 5 to 1% of ads that are extremely remarkable. And what I really want to go over now is actually what a good click-through rate is, because you might be thinking, I can't get into that, top 5% based on my click-through rate, what's average? So we did an analysis here at WordStream, and we found that the average click-through rate is, of course, correlated to your position on the search engine results page, right? That makes sense, of course. So if you're higher up, if you're in that top spot, you're going to get a better click-through rate. And then, the farther you go down on the page, the click-through rate gets a little bit lower. But the thing is, click-through rates are all over the map, we found. So these are averages that we're looking at here, right? So you're seeing the average for, the second position, click-through rates around 4%, 3% is around, 2.75 click-through rate, and then it just goes down. But these are averages. And we found that there are people who are in the fourth position and they're getting 16% click-through rates. There's people in the first position who are getting over 20% click-through rates. So there are some people who are getting these insanely remarkable click-through rates, and that's what I really want to encourage all of you to do today. So I hope you are enjoying this picture of our founder, Larry Kim, on a unicorn. If any of you are long-time followers of WordStream, you know that our founder is somewhat obsessed with unicorns, and he has this slogan which he says all the time, which is, "Be the unicorn in the sea of donkeys." This is so inspiring to me, and I love this saying, and it always really seems to resonate with people because it's true. We shouldn't strive for being the average click-through rate. We shouldn't strive for getting just, average performance with our ad copy, right? We should strive to be the unicorn. We should strive to be the number one, the best player we can be. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. I also loved this message from Will Reynolds. I recently went to, not recently, I went to Con in Seattle, and I saw Will, and he said, so many of us are winning at search and losing people. At some point, we need to start winning the hearts and minds. The hearts and mind is going to start winning on the SERPs. This is just what I also want to kind of drive home today, is that we should stop limiting your ad copy to best practices and start thinking about the actual people behind these ads. So without further ado, let's dive right in to the 5 psychological hacks to 3 times your click-through rates. I really want you guys to take a lot away from this and actually work on drastically increasing your click-through rates with these tips. The first one is to personalize your ad copy. So before I dive into these hacks, what I want to do is go over some psychological truths for each one. The first one we have here is that humans are inherently selfish. So this is a little shot from Clueless. I don't know if any of you are a fan, but it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And it just kind of is a good example of that, we're all constantly thinking about ourselves. We don't wake up in the morning and say, what does my neighbor want for breakfast? We think, what do I want for breakfast? What am I going to do this morning? How am I going to get to work? We think all about ourselves. We don't think about anyone else. Of course, unless you have children, that might be a little bit different. But by nature, we are selfish. So, and this is true for marketers too, which is something that I want to point out. Marketers are selfish, so when we're marketing, we're thinking about our business and our brand. We're thinking about our own goals. We're not spending enough time actually stepping out and thinking about our customer. So this quote by the father of advertising really kind of says it all. If you can't turn yourself into a consumer, you probably shouldn't be in the advertising business at all. So what I want to talk about before going into some ad copy examples is business-centric copy versus customer-centric copy, which is very, very important. So as you can see in this example here, the business-centric copy, which is highlighted in orange, is kind of talking about all about this company's business. They're like, we're a house cleaning service, we're based in Austin, blah, 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 us, it's all about us. The next one is really more focused on the consumer. So it's saying, are you tired of cleaning your own home? Do you have better things to do with your time? We're glad you stopped by. And they kind of get into their little spiel. But they really make sure to continuously focus on the customer, what the customer's problems are, and really how their business can fix those problems. All right, so let's dive into some real ad copy examples that are analysis that I did with some of our customers at WordStream. These are 2 ads that are from actually the same advertiser, and we did an A/B test to kind of see which ad performed better. And both of these ads, they were both ranging from the first 2 positions, and they had roughly the same amount of ad impressions. So the test was pretty fair. And what I want you to do now is just kind of take a minute or so, read over these ads, and take a little guess in your head, write it down, of which ad you think did better. So you can see, ad A, customer service is our number 1 priority, low prices, we're there when you need us. The next one reads boutique store fixtures and supplies, wholesale prices, and same-day shipping. All right, so I hope you all have a guess in your head or on paper. And the winner is ad A, of course. This ad far exceeds the performance of ad B. They actually both have really insanely high click-through rates. But ad A is getting like way over half of the clicks compared to the impressions they're getting, which is like insane. It's mind-blowing. And the reason is this ad's not like some crazy out-of-the-box ad, but it's focusing on the consumer. Clearly, customer service is important to these shoppers. This advertiser has taken that time to understand that, put that point in the ad copy. They focus on pointing at the advertiser, talking to them directly, using the word you. That's really important. So really driving home that point of you want to tell the searcher what's in it for them. This ad did so well as well. It was one of the top performing ads in the analysis that I did, and it got half of the clicks on the SERPs, which is amazing. And it's really, like I said, it's not like a crazy out of the box ad, but it's really focusing on the consumer. So this is, a community of mothers, meet other mothers like you at so-and-so website, get advice, support, and more. So it has that, really personalized touch of pointing out what's in it for these people and how this business can kind of provide that for them. So let's stop being so selfish. Let's stop in the clueless world and let's start honing in more on what our consumers actually need and want and addressing that in our ad copy. All right, moving right along to hack number 2, which is pull emotional triggers. So this is clearly a psychological truth. The emotions impact what we buy. They truly do. The reason that I buy a certain detergent, for instance, is because it ties me back to my mother doing laundry at the house that I grew up in. That smell, So it's kind of an emotional thing, brand loyalty and emotion kind of combined together. But if you a lot of the things that you are tied to some sort of emotion, whether you realize it or not, it's just truly impact us. And there's a study done by a creative agency called Fractal, which points out our top emotional drivers. They kind of saw what emotions really make our brains light up and make us like really excited and ready to take action. You can see here, looking at this beautiful visual, that amusement, interest, surprise, happiness, delight, these are all really emotional triggers that make us, purchase things. So these are really important emotions to focus on when we're thinking about tying emotion to our ad copy. And you might be really skeptical right now, because I actually was when I first started to think about this. Can we actually affect people's emotions when we only have like 25 characters per line? That's really not that much. How can you actually awaken someone's emotions with what's available to you? Well, luckily happens to be one of the smartest people in paid search, came up with this brilliant hack, which is the Swiss Army knife hack. And it basically takes all of these different components and it tells you kind of think about them, write them down, and then think about how you can compile them into your ad copy. So the components, as you can see on the screen, are your customer, your customer's best friend, your customer's worst enemy, you the advertiser, of course, a thing that your customer hates and a thing that they love. So here's a great example of a customer that we actually tried this on. They got an insane click-through rate of 30%, and we used a lot of different emotions here. So that's kind of hilarious. It's about a law office, and it's saying, you know, who is your husband with? Is he sleeping with her right now? Get revenge and a smile on your face. So as you can see, in just so limited characters, this advertiser really like hit the nail on the head by awakening so many emotions. That first we're feeling jealousy and anger, satisfaction and happiness. It's like this crazy emotional roller coaster, and it really worked for this advertiser. Like so many of these ads were so similar, and theirs really stood out and, you know, interest people and made people want to learn more about their business. All right. You might be like, what is this? I don't get it. But I had to show this just because it was really like making me laugh the other day. I was scrolling through my Instagram feed and I saw this picture. I think it said something like, Justin Bieber wants to be Donald Trump so bad right now. And I thought it was so funny. And then as I was like, you know, laughing at this image to myself, I started to think about those emotional drivers and how this really hits the nail on the head of amusement. You know, it's extremely amusing to me, and just this single image, this advertiser was really able to, you know, awaken, you know, my emotions and kind of provide that entertainment for me. And the main evolutionary significance of humor is that it gets us from open mode to, sorry, I'm having trouble speaking for a moment. So this is a quote from John Cleese, and it says, the main evolutionary significance of humor is that it gets us from closed mode to open mode quicker than anything else. This quote really resonated with me as well, just because it's so true. You know, if we can make people laugh and we can actually like entertain them, they're going to be so much more engaged than anyone else. So if you can figure out how to do it in your ad copy, you are going to win. You are going to up your click-through rates. It's just inevitable. So what I encourage you to do is channel your inner comedian. You know, I know you got it in you. We all have, you know, funny side, I believe at least. And this advertiser did it really well, which is it's you know, real products, and it says thousands of real products, many of which you've never seen before. You know, of course, never seen them before because they can't see, but I thought this was pretty entertaining. So you can make your customers laugh, and don't take yourself so seriously. You know, have a little bit of fun with it, and you might actually see insanely high increases in your click-through rates of your ads. Otherwise known as the fear of missing out, rewards, and uncertainty. So the psychological truth here is that our brains actually seek rewards. We want to be rewarded, right? We look forward to, you know, going to the bar after work or that event that we have planned for the weekend, whatever it is. And we're also intrigued by uncertainties. We're not quite certain about something, we really want to know more about it. And what I want to share with you first before getting into the hack is this really, really fascinating study by a neuroscientist and professor of biology. I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. Who look up the study with him, and it's really genius. Basically what he did here is he took a group of monkeys and he trained them to, when a signal went off, which was a light, they had to do some work, which was pressing a button 10 times. And then once they did that work, they would receive a reward, which was a banana. So the monkeys all knew, you know, once the light went on, they had to do this, press that button, and then they would get that banana. Hope that makes sense, explaining it well. But what he found here, his hypothesis, of course, was that the dopamine would in someone's brain would just spike, which is kind of your happiness, right? It's that dopamine, it's like that neurotransmitter that really makes you like want to act and do something. So it actually spiked. He thought it would spike when the banana was given to the monkey, of course, but it actually spiked when the signal went off and the work was being done. So it was showing us that anticipation is actually, you know, more of it rises your dopamine more than actually receiving a reward, which is I thought was really interesting. Something even more interesting is that when he introduced a component of uncertainty, dopamine went off the roof. What he did here is instead of the monkey getting the reward every single time they did the work, they would only get the reward about half of the time. And that actually made the dopamine in the monkey's brain just go crazy because they didn't know if they were going to get it or not. So this really shows us that anticipation of reward and uncertainty, if we combine these two elements, we are going to get insanely high click-through rates. And it's proven really true with a lot of our advertisers here at WordStream. You can see here this first ad says 25% off full price and free shipping on 125 and soon shop now. So it has that anticipation of getting the reward, the discount, and then it also has that level of uncertainty. So it's ending soon, we don't know when it's ending, and look at that click-through rate, it's 46.13%. That's crazy high. Then you can see the next ad, kind of a similar concept. They're having that discount ending soon. The click-through rate's also insanely high. So this is just a really kind of interesting hack that you can try to utilize, combining, a discount or kind of incentive and saying that, this incentive expires. So get it while it's hot. Get it before it's going to go away. It's really important. And another hack along the same lines of this point is to automate the process with ad customizers. So I don't know if any of you have tried out ad customizers. I certainly hope so. It's one of my favorite new features that came out this year. It's basically this feature. AdWords allows you to insert countdowns within your ads. I think this is a really great way to kind of spark that dopamine in people's brains because they know there's a sale that's ending, and it also takes out the work for you. So it works kind of like similar to dynamic keyword insertion, so it updates itself. So as the ad countdown is coming to an end, it'll say 2 days left, 3 days left, 4 hours left, 1 hour left. So it'll get that granular with it. So definitely try these out. They're not actually that complicated to set up. We have some documentation on the WordStream blog about ad customizer, so check that out and try these out because they really, really work. And an even greater hack here is actually combining ad customizers and call-only campaigns. And what this does, so call-only campaigns, if you haven't heard of them yet, they're basically campaigns where people can, rather than visiting your landing page, the headline of your ad becomes your phone number. Call your business. So this works for mobile campaigns, of course. And the reason this is so good is because it really chops up the entire stage of likely to lose a lead. So if calls are important to you, I definitely recommend trying these out and combine them with ad customizers. Really spark that kind of fear of missing out and really encourage them to call, because you're going to capture the lead so much quicker by just cutting out that entire stage of the funnel where the lead's meant to visit your website. Oops. All right, and hack number 4. So this one I decided to make it my own hack, and I called it Margot's Ad Headline Moneyball. So let's dive right in here. And the psychological truth here, I talked about this a little bit earlier on, but humans love to be entertained. It's just in our nature. It's why we, enjoy going to the movies and watching plays and, going to comedy shows or whatever it is that you like to do in your free time. And just a little kind of funny proof of this. I saw the picture of Albert Einstein, and I was like, oh yeah, that's nice. We all know who he is, right? And then I saw this one, it's so much funnier, it's so much more entertaining. It's just kind of hilarious. Ideas are sexy too. I just thought it was so funny. Couldn't stop laughing when I saw this. My boss thought it was gross, but whatever. I thought it was great. So basically, the hack here is that PPC professionals need to start thinking like content marketers. And I'm a person at WordStream who actually does a little bit of both trades. So I definitely believe this is true, and that's kind of why I deemed this hack my Moneyball hack, because it's really powerful, jumping into that creative mind of a content marketer and then applying what you know about content marketing research. It's so, so powerful. And one thing that you can do to really kind of start with this is start kind of looking at the highest clicks, engagement rates of other channels. So, whether or not you have access to these channels, go meet with your marketing team and tell them you want to do analysis of, they've likely already done it, so they can probably just share the data with you, but say that you want to look at the top blog posts over a certain period of time, the top social posts. See what headlines and what content is really resonating with your audience. And another way that you can do this is you can steal ideas from BuzzFeed. So, of course, we all know BuzzFeed. They always have those like crazy, posts that are just kind of ways to kill time when you're, trying to procrastinate or whatever it is. But aside from that, their headlines get like an insane amount of click-through rates. Like this site has just kind of knocked it out of the park in terms of content. So we actually look at it a lot at WordStream to come up with a lot of our blog titles. And an even greater thing that you can do is use BuzzSumo. So I love this tool. It's incredible. You can basically type in anything into BuzzSumo. It's a search box, and you type in any word, any keyword that is important to your business. You can type in a website, so your competitor's website or even your own, and you can see which posts got the highest amount of shares, and then you can kind of steal that headline and actually utilize it within your ad copy. Genius, right? And what I actually did with two of our clients here at WordStream is I used both tools. So I put BuzzFeed.com into BuzzSumo, and then I took that title. So the title I found was 23 Signs You Should Be a Server. It got like an insane amount of social shares. So I was like, all right, I need to, find a way to kind of mimic this but make it relevant to my client. So I changed it into 9 signs that you're overeating. This is a client that has products to help people lose weight. So we made it relevant to their business, and it was like insanely engaging. It far beat the other ads in their account. Another example of this is 51 of the most beautiful sentences in literature, 15 beautiful destinations. It's that simple. So just copying elements from those titles and then applying them to your business and making them relevant to you. All right, and on to our last hack, which is utilize repetition. So repetition is actually likely to be interpreted as accuracy over time, and this is a psychological truth, which is, it's kind of crazy and scary, but it's very true. So many studies, kind of proving this to be something that really influences us and makes us believe in certain things. And I wanted to give you guys a funny example. I know you're probably extremely sick of hearing about Donald Trump, because I know I am, but it's kind of funny. So he said this quote, Tom Brady is a very good friend of mine. He's a great guy, blah, blah, blah. He's an honest guy. He's a very good friend of mine. Like, he had to drive home that point that Tom Brady is his friend. He wanted to be connected with Tom Brady. And then even more evidence of this is in his tweets. He's my friend. He's a good friend of mine. He's a great friend. It's pretty hilarious. He really had to drive that point home. But scarily enough, it's actually working. He's doing pretty well in polls. So the point here is that people actually forget 90% of what we share with them. So what we need to do is create a consistent message across all of our marketing channels and keep reinforcing that message. I love this example from Boy Meets World. We can't forget, Sean walking around, saying, fee-hee-hee-nee. We'll never forget that if you watched Boy Meets World. But, sorry, just going on one of my rants. But here we go. This client really killed it with keeping a consistent message across all of their channels. You can see within their paid search ads, they have this slogan, Cape Air is your wings. They have it everywhere. So that really kind of is that message that really reinforces in the consumer's brain. They hear it so much that they believe it to be true. So one company that did this really well is this interesting, I don't even know what cult furniture is, but this is an interesting technique they use. They just kind of repeated the same message on every line. I don't know if I'd actually necessarily recommend trying this. It could work, it might not, but it worked for them. They got a really, really high click-through rate, so 34.44%. It's kind of insane. But what you can also do is actually just remarket to reinforce your message. So remarketing, for those of you who are not familiar, it's basically when somebody comes to your site and then you start following around across the web with ads, trying to entice them to come back. And there's lots of granularity that you can get with remarketing. We have a lot of content about it on our site, and this is something you can do directly in AdWords. So we definitely recommend testing this out if you haven't thus far. And I definitely recommend, not being afraid to get a little bit aggressive with your remarketing. So you do have the control to say like how often you want to show your ads and what period of time you want to show those ads to people. But we found that users are actually much less likely to get fatigued by your ads and to get turned off by them than they are on just the regular old display network. And you can also see here that actually the more times that someone actually sees your ad, the conversion rate level increases. So you can see here, like the people who only saw it, once, twice, 3 times, they're converting those ad, up to 6 times. All right, that was a lot of talking, but I hope you guys, found some useful tidbits to take home. If you don't remember anything at all, though, I really want you to remember that you should stop limiting yourself to all those best practices that are constantly drilled into your head, and start actually thinking about your audience. Think about the people behind your ads and what really drives them to click. That's the most important thing. And then just a little funny thing, too many people don't care about winning. I call them losers. I just wanted to add that in as a little joke at the end. But yeah, so let's dive right into special offers. I'm going to pass things back to Callie, and then we'll dive right into Q&A.
Great. Thanks so much, Margot. That was awesome, filled with a ton of information and some really great insight. So thanks so much. Now for everybody, we do have some special offers for you guys today that we would love for you to take advantage of. They are one-time deal. The first is a free personalized live demo of the WordStream Advisor, our product here at WordStream, which will help you identify where you're doing really well in your AdWords account and kind of give you the tools that you need to improve it, which would definitely help with your click-through rate. Second up, we have a one-on-one AdWords assessment with a certified consultant. So we have a whole team here that are AdWords certified, and they can walk you through your account. And again, they can show you, 10 areas of where you're doing really well or where you should really put your focus on, all of which will help you to improve your quality score, your click-through rate, all of the above. So I would definitely invite you to take advantage of one of those. If you're not interested in either, obviously that's cool too. So I'm going to leave that up for a few minutes. We definitely encourage you guys to take advantage. Again, if you want to get the most impact out of your AdWords investment, WordStream can definitely help. So let's get straight to some questions, Margot. How do the hack ideas that you talked about, how do they work into the meta description?
Sure, that's a good question. So, sorry, I'm blanking out. Meta description by, what are you referring to by the meta description?
I'm not sure. We'll see if we can get more information on that. In the meantime, we can move on to a next question. Now, you talked about a lot about different hacks that we could implement. So if I were to implement, one or all 5 of them, how quickly should I expect to see my click-through rates change?
Sure, that's a good question. I always, tell advertisers, like, of course I can't predict that for you, but I always tell advertisers that you need to have, patience and give it a decent amount of time to, accumulate enough impressions and clicks to see an impact. So sometimes when you make changes to your ads, it can take some time for Google to kind of register those changes. They should go live immediately, but I would definitely give it some time, get like a healthy amount of impressions and clicks before evaluating and adjusting. But you definitely should see, with those hacks, like at least from the data that we've gone through, you definitely should see an uptick in click-through rates over time. But of course, it depends on like the size of your account, the time period you're testing, all of those factors come into play. But I'm pretty confident that you will see an increase in click-through rates by using those hacks.
Great. Now I'm getting a couple questions if we recorded today's session, and we did, so we'll be sending the recording and the slides out later this afternoon, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Now getting back to some more questions from Margot. Let's see, how do you get new ads with lower relevance score to get filtered into rotation?
Sure. So if the relevancy score is low, that can be, of course, challenging. One obvious way is upping your bids and being more competitive. What I would do is, take a look at, take a look at where you, like your average position, because if you're really low on the page, that you're just not aggressive enough with your keyword bids. But another thing you can do is actually work on improving that relevancy score to increase the visibility of your ads. And you can do that by focusing on the individual quality score of your keywords. So getting rid of any keywords that are like marked as low quality score is something that I typically recommend doing. Of course, if it's like the most important keywords to your business, you might not be able to do that. But really focusing on the quality score of your keywords, and then focusing on just relevancy throughout. So how are your keywords relating to your ads, relating to your landing pages? That's something another really important area of focus to help get your ads more visibility.
Great. Next question. Do you think it matters if it's B2C or a B2B company, or will the hacks work for both?
I think they can absolutely work for both. I think oftentimes like B2B companies feel a little bit discouraged by a lot of this content that comes out, because they're like, well, this is helpful for retailers, but not so much for ourselves. But that's not true, because like I kind of hate the concept of like B2B and B2C, because it's like B2B is like you're selling to a person, so no matter what, you need to be thinking about that person and like how they think. Like they're not a brick wall that you're selling to. So yeah, I definitely think they can work. Just treating them as humans is really important.
Great. Now we have time for a few more questions. Next up, is it better to create one ad group per keyword or multiple keywords in an ad group instead of the automated keyword insertion?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Yeah. Is it better to create one ad group per keyword or multiple keywords in an ad group?
Okay, I understand now. So typically you're not going to want just one, because you're kind of limiting your volume and reach there. Usually, like Google's standard recommendation, I believe, is 20 to 30. Sometimes that's a little bit much for me. I like to have my ad groups with like around like 10 to 15 keywords, depending on what the business is, of course. But yeah, having those keywords extremely relevant. Like relevancy is the most important thing to think about here, and also reach. So like if your keywords are, getting really limited search volume, then you might want to be having more keywords, or you might want to be having different keywords, or vice versa. If your keywords are like, getting a ton of traction, you might only need a few per ad group. So it kind of depends, on the specific case, but typically you're going to want 10 to 15 in an ad group. I would recommend at least.
Great. Are keyword quality scores affected by dramatic changes, kind of like the examples that you gave in the ad copy, that may stray too far even though it's emotionally appealing?
Sure, that's a really good question. I think that it's hard to actually know exactly how the quality score is gonna be impacted by changing your ads. I wouldn't say that they're gonna be substantially impacted. If anything, if you start getting, like the main factor that goes into quality score is click-through rate. So if you start getting a higher click-through rate, you're going to start getting a better quality score for your keywords as well, and an overall like better account quality score. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you do see like your ads are getting like poor engagement or whatever it is, then that ad strategy might just not work for you. But I would test these strategies, and I wouldn't worry too much. As long as you're like using the keyword in your ad copy, you should be okay in terms of quality score.
Great. Now I know you went through 5 hacks today, and you left us with one lasting point. But if I were, one of these questions is going about if I wanted to see an immediate impact, what should I go do in my account right now?
Sure. All of the things that I just listed. If you want to see immediate impact, I think you need to, especially like if in terms of ad copy, you need to, reevaluate your ads. Like go in with a different mindset, like which is really the point that I drove home, is just go in there with a different mindset and start thinking about how you can be like appeal more to your customers. I think that's the main thing, and exactly how you do that, like those hacks can be a guideline, but I think once you start putting yourself in the mindset of your consumer, you'll start figuring it out for yourself.
Great. Now we have time for two more questions. The first is, if I have a lot of different campaigns, is it okay to use the same set of keywords in each of them? Or should we add new campaigns to our account?
Sure. Interesting question. So unless you're targeting like a ton of different locations, so for instance, like say you have a bunch of different offices or locations and you have campaigns for each location, so like one in Japan, one in America, and one in Australia or whatever it is, uh, you would then be able to kind of copy and paste over keywords into each campaign. But if you're targeting all the same locations across your account, then if you have the same keywords in different campaigns, they're actually going to end up competing against each other. So typically you don't want that. For most businesses in AdWords, unless they're like really location specific, you're going to only want that keyword in your account once. What's important to note is that keywords will not compete against each other. It's the same keyword on a different match type, though.
Great. And I think I fibbed a little bit because I think we were able to get to all of the questions today. So
Yay!
I think that concludes our webinar. Margot, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it, got a lot out of it. And again, Margot will be sending out a follow-up email later on this afternoon with both the recording and the slides so you can listen again and share and do whatever you wish with that. So thanks again, and I hope
Thanks,
everybody
guys.
has a lovely day. Thanks.